I move that the process for Wheatland County Council meeting as it pertains to scheduled public hearings will be as followed. Public hearing, first reading if required. Consideration for further readings of bylaws for those public hearings that have been closed. Further move that the above process will take place with the absence of resolutions to go into and out of council before and after each public hearing. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Okay, as long as you're reading. Okay, with that, I'll open the public hearing for bylaw 2017-15. Have all the proper notifications been done?
Yes, Mr. Chair, they have.
Is there any member of the public have any concerns of any councillor listening to these public hearings? Not seeing any, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the application is to redesignate a portion of the Southwest 10-24-25 from Agricultural General District to Country Residential District, with the balance of the parcel to remain Agricultural General District. Our recommendation is that Council choose option 2, refusal of bylaw 2017-15, for the following reasons. The proposed rezoning does not align with the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, doesn't align with the policies of the Regional Growth Management Strategy. The proposed redesignation is not cohesive with the planning and land use designations present adjacent within the town of Strathmore, and does not align with the intermunicipal planning objectives of the RGMS and MDP. 4, the proposed redesignation may cause future planning challenges for the county in terms of infrastructure planning and future industrial development. 5, the proposed redesignation does not align with the purpose and intent of the Country Residential District of the land use bylaw. And finally, the proposed redesignation contradicts the goals and objectives of the county's Economic Development Strategy 2016 to 2019. Do a bit of background. The redesignation application is to facilitate the subdivision of 2 lots from the parent parcel. There's 2 existing mobile home dwellings on the parcel that are the subject of the redesignation application. None of the existing 2 dwellings on the parcel have valid development permits. There was an initial application for hired help with a 1-year temporary approval for 8 mobile home units for hired help. However, this approval expired in 1978, and therefore these homes have not had development permits and been in non-compliance with the land use bylaw since that time. The proposed subdivision also falls within the vicinity of a likely future alteration of the highway by Alberta Transportation to the south of town. I'll now go into the report here. So first we'll go through this policy analysis through the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan. The SSRP's purpose is to set the stage for robust growth, vibrant communities, and a healthy environment in the region over the next 50 years. Through regional planning, Alberta is shifting to a more effective and efficient management system that considers the cumulative effects of all activities such as country residential development. This proposal does not align with the vision, policies, and objective of the SSRP due to impacts on the town in terms of future planning, as well as the county, as it's an increase in piecemeal acreage development that unnecessarily decentralizes services, maintenance, and planning decisions. The SSRP is a statutory document adopted by the province that requires all municipalities within Alberta to ensure their policies are in alignment. It identifies the agricultural industry as the #1 renewable and sustainable resource in the South Saskatchewan region, and that it should be strongly supported through land use planning decisions. As the agricultural sector is undergoing significant challenges as identified in the SSRP, such as an aging farming population and factors such as high startup costs, agricultural market risk, and competing career opportunities, it's important that land use planning decisions do not further detract from the agricultural field as an ideal profession. Country residential development can do this through creating an additional burden on farmers through the challenges these parcels bring as an opposing land use. The application would not support the agricultural industry as per the SSRP, which is why it does not align with these objectives. Another key focus of the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan is protecting our existing watersheds, and that watershed management should be considered when reviewing applications. Country residential development is neither sustainable nor an efficient land use, and prevents and creates challenges for future agricultural uses on this quarter and the surrounding land, as well as increased industrial development. As residential is not the most efficient use in this context for the long term, the inconsistencies with the SSRP must be noted when considering this application. Okay, so that's the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan. Now we'll go into the Regional Growth Management Strategy. So the proposed redesignation contradicts the RGMS in multiple aspects. First and foremost, the RGMS clearly outlines the criteria that should be considered when reviewing CR district applications. Considers key questions a municipality must consider in regards to planning applications, such as where and how does the county want to grow, how does growth impact industrial development in key corridors, and what benefits does it provide socioeconomically and environmentally. The RGMS that was approved by council notes that the county should follow a goal of sustainable nodal development through a regional growth concept that connects and integrates population and employment with land use, infrastructure and transportation, economic development, and community services. Country residential development that is sporadic, not focused in key growth nodes, and sprawled throughout the county results in a significant negative impact on the county's finite resources, creates challenges with the agricultural focus, which we've gone into through the SSRP. The RGMS also notes that applications within potential intermunicipal areas, such as the county/Strathmore Edge, should be mutually beneficial to municipalities. The proposal falls directly adjacent to the town of Strathmore's southern edge. Furthermore, the southern side of the town currently has industrial zonings and is slated for additional industrial growth in this section of town. Additional country residential growth on the county side should be discouraged as it may cause conflicts for future landowners in terms of nuisance effects and the challenges that industrial and residential development can have in close proximity. Although this area is not identified as a future annexation area currently by the town, it's the role of the planning department to think long-term and anticipate future growth. As the south side is largely zoned with industrial and highway commercial uses, the county should not be promoting residential development along this edge. So I'm just going to go down to the land use map here. You'll see here, this is the proposed redesignation, the red dot. The purple and the dark purple, or kind of blue, however you want to go about it, those are industrial zonings for the town of Strathmore. So you'll see they've slated, of course, the southern side to be largely an industrial/highway commercial mix. And it's, although there's no existing zonings in place for this land currently that's within the Strathmore limits, given the precedence, it's likely to go industrial as well. So that would put residential up against further more industrial on this side of town. Just leave that map up for a second here. From a county planning standpoint as well, the Highway 1 corridor between the Rocky View County border and the town of Strathmore should maintain its focus as an agricultural area until industrial development, through careful phasing and contiguous development, is deemed to be an appropriate long-term use for this part of the county. Increased residential development along this corridor will impede the potential for future industrial development in the long term through the fragmentation of parcels, which makes it challenging for developers to move forward. Furthermore, the town of Strathmore noted in its comments and considerations for future access at the bypass should be considered with this application. As current mapping shows, the proposed bypass would go to the south of this parcel, further isolating it within a likely industrial area where country residential development is not appropriate. The application contradicts the smart growth directions identified in section 3.2.1 of the RGMS. It notes that growth should be focused in existing communities and that agricultural land should be protected and enhanced. Smart and cost-effective infrastructure should be considered. Country residential development in this region of the county would result in an expectation of additional services that would far exceed the potential revenue benefits of growth of residential. Industrial land uses provide a strong revenue benefit to both the town and county and better utilize infrastructure, given their returns, which far exceeds country residential development. As well, from a maintenance perspective, non-concentrated residential growth in areas that are not appropriate for it has a disproportionate impact on municipal services, road maintenance, plowing that isn't supported or equalized by the increased taxes. So in conclusion, with the RGMS, the proposal directly contradicts the RGMS strategy through its proposal of a non-compatible land use in an intermunicipal corridor that's likely to have future industrial growth. Furthermore, it fragments agricultural land and impacts county resources in a potential negative manner. We'll now go to the municipal development plan review. So the proposed application contradicts the MDP as it fragments existing agricultural land from production. Although the proposed parcels do not fall within existing farmland, it does fragment an agriculturally zoned parcel that is used for primarily agricultural purposes. It would have an impact on adjacent agricultural users, which is noted in the report. It also notes the proposed rezoning does not align with section 3.2 as the parcel is in close proximity to an environmentally sensitive area and would focus country residential development in close proximity to a high-quality wetland with a lack of environmental studies to support this nature of development. Section 3.6 of the MDP speaks to residential development, which notes that a key consideration for the county in regards to residential development is compatibility with agricultural uses, and it notes that Wheatland residents should have an access to a range of affordable housing types. This application does not further diversify nor increase the affordability of housing types due to the country residential acreage nature of the parcel. There's already a significant surplus of vacant and for sale country residential parcels in the county, with a large multi-year supply already in existence that tailors to this segment of the population. The residential objectives also note that residential development, especially multi-lot, should be located within existing serviced hamlets and urban areas prior to unserviced areas. This application does not address this objective and encroaches onto agricultural land in an unserviced manner. Okay, we'll now move on to the land use bylaw. The land use bylaw, the rezoning does not align with this, as the purpose and intent of the CR district is to, quote, provide for acreage development for predominantly residential purposes that is aligned with the policies of the MDP. As this proposal does not align with the policies of the MDP, country residential zoning is not appropriate. Finally, we reviewed the Wheatland County Economic Development Strategy when making a recommendation for this application. That strategy notes that a strong agricultural sector is the backbone of the local economy, and agricultural land and activity needs to be maintained. A redesignation from agricultural uses to that of residential does not align with this objective and value that was noted throughout the extensive consultation held for this strategy. Although this may be 2 lots, it's always, there's another 2 lots and another 2 lots, and there is that cumulative effect that'll take place when you do begin to look and have the fragmentation on the levels of foothills or Rocky View County, for example. So continued redesignation from agricultural uses to that of residential does not align with this objective. And it is also noted in the economic development strategy that strong communities and connections are characteristics of rural communities, and it's essential to quality of life within the county. Isolated country residential parcels that are not well integrated or compatible with the rural landscape does not address this strategy and works against it through creating tensions due to opposing land uses in close proximity. The strategy notes that the importance of industrial lands along the Highway 1 corridor and that cluster development is the best practice for economic development as well as planning. Focusing industrial land uses along this corridor, particularly if the future bypass goes to the south of the proposed rezoning area, is key for the long-term beneficial development in the county. Based on the approved economic development strategy, country residential development is not perceived to be a wise long-term economic decision in this region of the county due to its potential future accessibility to a new Highway 1 routing, the impact on resources, and the impact on the agricultural sector. I'll now go to the circulation comments. Alberta Health Services had their standard comments. Alberta Transportation, I had contacted them but haven't heard back yet. They're usually more vocal at subdivision stage, more so than or at a DP than the rezoning. ATCO Pipelines, they noted no objection subject to following 4 conditions that are fairly standard. Fortis Alberta noted no objections and no easement is required. TELUS also noted no objections. Town of Strathmore commented that the application needs to consider the proposed future ring road, the drainage, and future access to the site, noting no issues provided there is no impact to town infrastructure. WID noted no objections to the rezoning. However, any plans for permanent structures or utilities must have a 30-meter setback. Agricultural Services noted no concerns with the change in land use. The proposed change will rezone an existing home and yard but does not impact cultivated land. Transportation noted approaches to be constructed, and then McElhaney had the servicing comments, which would be handled at subdivision. All landowners within a mile were circulated. There was no letters received in either support or objection at the time that this report was prepared. So I'll just go through the rest of the maps I had here. So this is the bylaw map that accompanies this bylaw. And this is the area map. So this is the aerial photo of the rezoning area in the red here, where it would be cut into the 2 parcels. And this is the location plan, and that's right against, you'll see the town of Strathmore border here. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Brenda?
So, can you go to the town of Strathmore and all the different industrial use? So that particular section that, you have a split in the industrial there, all the way down throughout the town. So that tells me that they haven't rezoned that. And in fact, that area there is zoned for residential, actually, if I believe correct. If that what your legend reads?
Through the chair, that's not zoned yet, as I noted in the report. Are you talking about this area above where the parcel is? The
No.
white area here?
No, I'm talking over within the town of Strathmore. The assumption that the entire south end of Strathmore is industrial, but there is a strip of land directly across from Walmart that is not zoned and is, I believe, is headed toward a residential development. So that's why I question when you said the entire south end of Strathmore is to be industrial, but I don't think that's the case. Secondly, the homes are already existing on this particular parcel, do they not?
Through the chair, I'd spoken with the landowner and they were planning to remove. There has been a fluctuating number of homes, but last I checked, they were planning to be removed. I believe the landowner's here, he could speak more clearly to that, but there is 2 mobiles that had been there.
Okay.
The numbers changed a bit.
And I guess my next question is that due to the location, if you bring up the map of the actual parcel with the, yeah, but the vision, that one, yeah, as, because this is what I presume is the old Western feedlot where they kept their employees. And that is where all those trailers were, but it's a treed, very well-treed area in there, but it's also located next to that wetland. So I can't see, well, I can see anything happening, but to me, if they were going to go through the highway, when the province decides to do it, they're going to go through south of there. They're not going to go through that wetland. And that would be what I would suggest would be happening on that one. Do you have the highway?
Through the chair, I do, and it does go to the south of the parcel adjacent to it. However, it does, through the chair, planning's note was that it will likely create more of an industrial nature for that area when it's cut off by the highway. And if you start to fragment country residential parcels in that area, where already you abut industrial lands in the town of Strathmore and the West Highway 1 industrial park, it will create challenges for future developers in terms of what the highest and best possible use for that land would be, which would be industrial in the future when that makes sense. But if you start to cut and fragment and do country residential in advance of that, it can make it very challenging for developers down the road. And we could be talking 50, 100 years from now, but it still does create that precedent.
So by the highway cutting that particular section off, it will not only cut off that piece, but I think there's about 2 or 3/4 to the west of that that'll be also leave us with some parcels. But the old number 1 highway that's there will still provide access to the south side of that highway through the town. Comment is that there'll be a whole bunch of quarters in there that will have to be provided access throughout once this highway, and whether they are, is that a service road that they're planning along there?
Through the chair, I'm not certain of the specifics at that point. We're not concerned about access for the remnant parcels. They'll, of course,
No, I
have to
know.
be accessed. It's just we're from a kind of a higher level planning perspective on this. The highway creates somewhat of a division where in my planning opinion, I would see this land going to more industrial. That proposed parcels are right here, the 2 country residential parcels. So the highway would cut through here, so this land will be fragmented or divided on both sides by major roadways. That's really well serviced potential future industrial land.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public? Comments? Go ahead, please.
Andrew Comart. I helped put this application together. I just wanted to touch on a few points. One, the wetland there. That wetland already has separate title to it. I don't know, can we pull up the aerial on that? It's already essentially been protected. You can see, yeah, on this one, it outlines the separate titled area that isn't ownership of our clients. That land can't be touched. I believe it's well protected already. You can also see that where they're farming now, it's already, like, they're talking like this is prime agricultural land. This is already separated by trees, a farmstead. There's wells, there's septic fields. The understanding is the mobile homes are going to come off there. But from a development standpoint, it's a tall, skinny piece next to a marsh. This is not our prime agricultural land. The agricultural land is being saved to the south of this. And the last point is, we were always kind of told, like, we were supposed to stay next to these growth nodes with these subdivisions. Don't throw them out in the countryside. So we make these applications on the border of Strathmore, and then we're told, oh no, you can't do them here. And these are the growth nodes we're trying to stay next to. We're not putting these, well, I put them everywhere, but this application itself is against one of those growth nodes that we're trying to promote growth around. It seems to make sense to me. I think there is speculation as to when the highway will go that way, if this land will become industrial or not, but that's a long way down the road. And I know planning looks a long way down the road, but this could be rezoned to residential and be a complete residential area in the future. In the last 6 months, I have 2 applications with the town of Strathmore, both approved. One is the Coldwell property on the north end of Strathmore. It's a 5-acre parcel. And what they did there is they asked for a 15-meter road widening for their ring road. And on the west side of town, the Scooter residence, also fully approved by Strathmore, and it was 5 acres as well. And they asked for a 20-meter road widening for the future ring road. My client has already said he would be willing to dedicate the road on the west side for, if this builds up in the future, it does connect to the bypass road. So there would be ample room on that side for the road to accommodate it. Like you say, the road won't go right through here. It's actually a full quarter section south of this where that road would pass. So I think when you look at the geography of it and what we have there, it's well suited for what we're proposing. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Any questions? Any other member of the public have any comments?
Yes, I guess my only comment.
A
when
name,
he had
please, too.
Pardon?
Name, please.
Oh, sorry, Bernie McWilliam from McWilliam Farms. I farm just across the river from Bellpole. And I bought this land just to irrigate some crops and to see what happens in the future. But all along that one parcel there that we're looking at, would like to subdivide, the only true use of that parcel, there's no good for farming unless I knock all the trees down. The only good it is either for high school kids to party or to have a subdivision there and have a couple of homes in there. And you talk about industrial use on that land. I'm not so sure if that shouldn't have been that way anyway. You go east of there, there's an ideal marsh to have a lake and have a big subdivision in there. That's kind of would be west of the Burnco and a little bit south. But if you ever drive out there, there's an ideal location that way. So when you look down the road 50 to 100 years, well, I'm not going to be here anyway, but I wouldn't be surprised that would be more of a residential area. And I wasn't going to do too much there, but there was 5 trailers there. We're down to 2 now. But I just thought with the way things are going nowadays, that leaving vacant trailers there isn't too good. So I do plan to take them out and cleaning the site up. So
Okay.
I think that's all. Thank you.
Or no questions. Thanks for that. Anything else? Rex?
So this is just a subdivision for one parcel? Sorry.
Through the chair, this is a rezoning to facilitate the subdivision of 2 parcels.
It's one parcel presently. We're redesignating and give a future intent of subdividing it in half, right, or thereabout?
Correct. So they're rezoning 9.38 acres, and then to split that, it'll be 5 and 4.38 or whatever the division would be if the rezoning had been approved. But this rezoning is to facilitate a 2-lot subdivision.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but at this time, it's a single application to rezone because you
Right.
don't have the subdivision, correct?
That's
So
right.
That's correct. They could come into the subdivision for 3 lots if they wanted down after this point.
Or none. Any other questions?
Through the chair, I just wanted to touch on the comment that the wetlands on a separate property. Although that's the case, the riparian areas, they're not determined by property lines. You look at how this one was cut, the wetland looks like it's quite abutting up against property lines, so actual environmental studies would still need to be done. The property line doesn't necessarily delineate where the area is to protect it from environmentally sensitive area.
Correct?
So what about the comment about the growth node area? There's no ASP for this area? Is there something that we can follow?
That's correct. There's no area structure plan for this area. And in terms of growth nodes for the actual Wheatland County, typically it's not you don't actually want to see, you want to see your development in your hamlets and your villages and those type of things. But around somewhere like town of Strathmore, whether it be the city of Calgary or larger municipal areas, the actual worst thing you could do for the long-term planning is to focus your acreages all around those limits, because it makes it much harder for developers that are developing 160 acres at a time to actually comprehensively plan a community. When you have a bunch of different landowners, bringing them together, tying the plans together, it gets quite challenging for long-term planning for towns or for cities. In terms of growth nodes for the county, you'd want to be focusing more on your layout or developments within our specific control rather than the town of Strathmore looking to that as a growth node.
Ben?
Just a question or comment. From what you said in your presentation, that you're looking at this as an industrial area. I see nothing in here and heard nothing from the town of Strathmore. Do they have any concerns, or were they questioned as to what they're looking for in the future for that area? What are they looking for?
Through the chair, their
Missed them.
comments, yeah, their comments were quite vague. They noted to be aware of the highway bypass. Let me just go up to their comments.
Yeah, but
Yep.
there was nothing about the redesignation, whether it's commercial or residential. There?
Through the chair, that's correct. They didn't make any note of the fact that it is largely industrial development on that side of their town, no.
So they obviously don't have a concern with it, as from what I'm gathering. Yeah, they should watch out for the road, but there's no concern from them that some country residential development is going to happen down there, when they know that in the future, if there's any expansion, they're going to be the ones dealing with it, right? So, okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Bernice?
Through the chair, the ring road, how close is it going to be to that? Can you show me?
Through the chair, you'll see the yellow line is the potential
That's
alignment.
what I thought, okay.
Yep.
Not totally done.
Okay, any other questions? Rex?
One more. So if we rezone this to country residential, when it comes through for the subdivision application, I guess we're just gonna turn it down on its, sorry, that's not the right words. We would approve it or turn it down based on its merit, so whether we, I guess, if they come back at 5 or 4, or whatever that happens, and we feel it should be 1 or whatever, it's still only, we don't make those recommendations, they just come back and we approve them or deny them on the merits of whatever the application is, right?
Through the chair, this is the chance for consideration of the size, given that 9 acres is being rezoned to country residential. Staff has much more of a limited ability at the subdivision stage to look at the number of lots and whether it's the appropriate land use, because once that land use is there, a lot of those considerations are taken account for. So it would be technical way. We'd be looking at the environmental study and if there's environmental reserve easement needed, the septic study that would be needed, and the well study, and then access. So yes, it'd be much more technical, but MPC would still be able to turn it down if they so chose to, based on the number of lots that came in. But land use is definitely the time to be considering the number of lots that they are looking to propose.
Okay. Answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Brenda?
Oh, currently on, let me get my glasses off. It would be on Range Road 253. And as I see it, 253 comes to a dead end, pretty much, because there's another water body at the end of it, a large water body. So my presumption is that a highway overpass would go between the two water bodies. But that road actually dead ends, so it's not a through road, is what my...
You can see that somewhat on this location map here, where the water body juts out. Here's 253.
So it is not a through road that it'll be increased or, I think.
Any other questions? I guess for me, what difference is that land if it's country residential, farming, or industry? When they come to build a ring road, they're not going to look at it. They're going to say, it's where the ring road's going. Move your house, or they do it all the time. I wouldn't worry about the ring road. Yeah, they'll do whatever they want. Okay, any other thing? Questions, comments?
With your,
Public, Ben?
yeah, with your comment about the ring road, did they not obtain that right of way through there for the ring road? Have they not done that yet?
Through the chair, it's not shown on our mapping, no, but I'm not concerned that the ring road is going to go through this parcel. My thought process on this was the cutting off and how it's more set up for down the road, the land use, best land uses, and having country
I
residential.
realize that where I'm coming from is when we had those discussions with that ring road, their idea was to have that land tied up and under their control, and nothing was going to get built in there without their permission anyways. So have they, I assumed they had that all done. They haven't.
Yeah, through the chair, we don't have any right of way showing that they've obtained that. At subdivision, they will, as per the subdivision development regulation, be circulated, and then they'll have significant say as well.
Yeah. Okay. Public, anything? Danny? Andy, sorry.
Just another comment. I can assure you it will be a 2-lot application. If an environmental reserve easement is required, that's simple enough. We're open to that. And to align with what the other subdivisions in Strathmore have been doing, like I say, we would be open to already dedicating the road for the ring road on the west side of this property. Like I say, Strathmore hasn't been consistent. One was 15, one was 20 meters, but we can definitely accommodate that along the west side. And that's ahead of everyone else. Like I said, the rest of the land hasn't even dedicated that road, and we can be far enough ahead in planning that we can dedicate it there, so it will never interfere with that if it is built there. So I think it works well.
Okay, thanks.
Through the chair, another question while you're up there. That wetland that's there that has a separate title, is that the province's title, or whose title is that?
I was going to say, I think it's WID has title to that portion.
That's why they had noted the 30-meter setback, but I can confirm that they have control of that.
Oh, who'd you say had the title?
WID.
WID has the title to that wetland. Okay.
Hence the 30-meter setback. Okay, any other questions? Comments? Rex?
Through the chair, it might be back to one of the applicants, but I mean, what is the plan then once we decide to rezone that to CR? How many parcels are we looking at? Because to me, that still plays into, you know, are we doing one, are we doing three? To me, that makes a difference.
Danny last just said definitely two.
Two, definitely two.
Okay, any other questions? I guess for me, the biggest thing is town of Strathmore. They don't seem that concerned, so for me, that's what I'll hang my hat on. Last chance. Okay, I'll close the public hearing for bylaw 2017-15. We're now in council. It's council's wishes. Brenda,
I'll move second reading of bylaw 2715 for approval. Second
Brenda's
reading.
moved second reading.
Second reading, sorry.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Go ahead, yeah.
I'll do
ahead.
third. I'll move bylaw 2017-15 for third and final reading.
Brenda's moved third, final. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. Thanks for coming in. Okay, with that, I'll open the public hearing for bylaw 2017-47. Have all the proper notifications been done?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, they have.
Is there any member of the public have any concerns of any counselor listening to this public hearing? Not seeing any, please continue.
Great. So this is public hearing for bylaw 2017-47 to redesignate 3 acres from agricultural general to country residential district within Southwest 32221 west of the Fort. Recommendation from staff is that council choose option 1, approval of bylaw 2017-47 for the following reasons. The proposed redesignation aligns with the objectives and policies of the MDP. It aligns with the Regional Growth Management Strategy Plan and aligns with the rules and regulations of the land use bylaw. It also does not remove or fragment productive agricultural land. So for the background material, the intent is to redesignate to accommodate a future subdivision of a 3-acre parcel for estate planning, which currently has a residence, detached garage, and garden shed on the proposed parcel. So this is the location map showing the parcel in question. It is just west of Cluny on Range Road 213 and south of Highway 1. This is the area plan showing that it is the first parcel out for the quarter section. And this is the site plan itself for the proposed redesignation parcel of 3 acres. Oh, sorry. Yes, east of Cluny. Sorry, backwards. My apologies. Yeah, sorry. I swear, I know where I'm going. No, it's not this time. No, that's just me. All right. So for policy analysis, there was no area structure plan involved in this application. So the municipal development plan was analyzed. The redesignation meets the relevant objectives of the MDP in sections 3.1 for agriculture and 3.6 for residential development. The proposed redesignation boundary only incorporates the property's existing footprint, which is defined by the vegetative buffer on the north, east, and west side of the property. As a result, no unnecessary agricultural land will be removed or fragmented from the parent parcel and protects agricultural lands. Further, the vegetative buffer on either side of the existing property has provided a buffer between the agricultural and residential land uses, reducing land use conflicts and encroachment onto agricultural land. Through the Regional Growth Management Strategy Plan, it was developed to guide the growth of the county over the next 40 years. As such, when applications come in to redesignate to country residential, it is important to ensure the change is in alignment with RGMS, as country residential parcels can pose challenges for servicing infrastructure and growth in the county. The proposed parcel is an existing homestead and will be the first parcel out from the quarter section. The RGMS speaks to the first parcel out in section 4.3, which states that more favorable consideration shall be given to subdivision, or in this case, redesignation for future subdivision, of first parcel out of an existing farmstead than a bare quarter. And applications for a first parcel out shall be strongly considered for an existing farmstead. At this time, the redesignation will not grant subdivision, but provides the opportunity for it by granting the applicant appropriate designation based on the parcel size and land use. As such, even at the redesignation stage, future subdivision is planned and therefore should be taken into consideration at this stage. The application meets the goals set forth for first parcel out in the RGMS agricultural section. Through the land use bylaw, proposal is to redesignate to country residential. The existing house and accessory structures are within the permitted uses of the country residential district, and the front side and backyard setbacks are met with the proposed boundary through the redesignation. Through servicing, there is already existing water and septic. As noted on the map here of the site plan, the septic field is just on the other side of one of the buffers here, vegetation, so it will be within the proposed future subdivision parcel. Therefore, staff have no concerns with the servicing on the property. For circulation, externally, Alberta Health Services did have concerns regarding the overall usable size of the 3-acre lot proposed. They stated, provided the applicant can show that no public health nuisance will be created and can meet all construction requirements and setback distances for water wells and wastewater, they would have no concerns. As stated previously, septic field is in existence and a water well is in existence on the property and is within the boundary of the proposed redesignation for future subdivision of this parcel. They also stated if there's any evidence of contamination or other issues of public health concern identified at any phase of development or during operation, Alberta Health Services wishes to be immediately notified. At this time, staff have no concerns with contamination on the site. Alberta Transportation stated the application meets the requirements of Section 14 of the Subdivision and Development Regulation and Section 14B of the regulation. It also meets Section 15 of the regulation. ATCO Gas had no concerns and Pipelines had no concerns. TELUS and Western Irrigation had no concerns, and through internal file review, no concerns were stated. The proposal was circulated to all landowners with 1 mile of the subject lands. No letters were received on either support or objection of the application at the time the report was prepared. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns? Anybody from the public have any questions? Ask council one more time. Any questions or concerns? Not seeing any. I'll close the public hearing for bylaw 2017-47. We're now back in council.
I move bylaw 2017-47 for first reading, or second reading.
Second reading.
Second reading.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried.
Also move bylaw, I'll move bylaw 2017-47, make a third and final reading.
All in favor? Carried.
Could we
Okay.
have a break, please?
Go right ahead. We'll have a break.
Thank you.
2 minutes. And we'll go down to 3.2A. Request for decision. Proclamation. 3.2A. And is moved. Is there any questions or concerns? Kim, do you want to say anything or you pass?
I was to present it, but if you're moving already, then I can move on.
Great presentation. Well, I read it, so I thought, well, okay.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay. So is there any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Kim. And Suzanne. Okay. Okay, we'll move up to 2.2I, handout. Press for decision. Everyone have it? Okay, Brenda?
So I'll move that Wheeling County Council approve a request be made to Alberta Environment and Parks for a reduction to the setback required under the MGA subdivision and development regulations, section 12.3, in the distance required between a wastewater treatment facility and adjacent residences.
Okay, any questions? Rex? Any questions? A quick second.
Just so I have this right, the minimum is 300 and we're asking for 60? And just for clarification, that's right?
Angie?
Thank you, through the chair. It's just one resident that is 60 meters away, but normally it is a full 300 meters. But we have to bring it to council for your approval to do anything less than the standard requirement.
Now I remember my question from before this morning. So with that, we're going to apply, but does the homeowner or the nearest resident or residents have any, so they would make notes or mention of it when it goes to the province and then they would be notified and that's where they would be?
Mr. Chairman, potentially they could make an appeal through that. You have to keep in mind there is a current wastewater facility there. This doesn't change that wastewater facility operation. All it does is put a structure there and pre-treat that. That's all it does. And this is only a pilot project, by the way. Yeah, it's temporary. So, and I say temporary, it likely will be less than a year, but it all depends on environment if they want to extend it longer than that. So the full intent is the longer term, the final solution to this will be outside that 300 meter. But seeing as all the infrastructure in the current field, septic field, if you want to call it for lack of a better word, is in that location, in order to reduce costs and make it the most effective and efficient, we want to bring in that site, which you, I think, went to Olds. Did you see that facility in Olds? Yeah. So they're going to bring in that, you saw the one outside? I think that's the one they're actually going to bring to site, that train, and put that there temporarily to run the pilot project, show that it's proven, and then get approval from environment. So does that help make more sense? But so it's a little more complex than just putting in a wastewater facility. There is many municipalities that have wastewater facilities within the 300 meter buffer, but it needs to be approved by environment. So this is just the process. City of Calgary's got wastewater facilities in the City of Calgary within less than 300 meters of and so it's not a problem. It's just you have to be aware of that there's legislation around that. So.
And I have zero problem with it, like absolutely none, but I don't want a resident to come back later and say, and I have the answer if they ask, so thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? Brendan move this? Yes, I did. All in favor? Carried. Ben, Rosar Fire and County shed.
Thank you. Through the chair, Hazar Fire Department and the grader shop, the zoning around that is, I think, is called, currently it's called community services, if I remember right. The zoning that that's sitting under doesn't allow for shipping containers. The fire department is strapped for storage space. They got absolutely no place for storage in the building they're in. They're trying to find a way to put something out there, and they've looked at a storage shipping container. They've looked at a truck van body that they could sit there, but the zoning of that area doesn't allow it, so they can't do it. without getting the relaxation or something. But when I was looking through our land use, thank you, my words aren't coming today.
You're getting tired.
Could we rezone that to a public utility rather than a community service? And under public utility, it makes more sense when I read through there what's allowed than what's allowed in the community service for that building and what that building's used for. Makes more sense under a public utility district.
Through the chair, there's a couple of different ways to do this. So as I understand it, they need storage space in something. So we could do a change of zoning. We can do on a spot zone just for that lot. We can do an amendment to the existing zoning, allowing that to go into there. But then that becomes a wider problem because it means that can happen anywhere. So there's a couple of different ways to look at it. If you'd like, I can get the planning department to look at the best way to have this happen and then bring that back to council.
If they wouldn't mind, because it involves the county grader shop and the fire department and that one parcel of land. It's all by itself in between the two roads, and the neighboring landowner is farming the other land, so it doesn't affect anything else out there. And if you zoned it to public utilities district, which allows shipping containers and public services, private amenities, the other one is more for playground and like when I read it, I don't know why it was designated that in the first place. That's what community recreation, childcare facility, public service, cultural facilities. So it would, to me, it would just fit better. But at least it would give them the opportunity to do what they need to do there without, because right now they're looking at going downtown somewhere in town and finding places to store stuff, and it doesn't make sense to do that.
Yes, if you don't mind, through the chair, we will do a bit of research on this. There's always an opportunity to do a direct control district for this as well, so that'll be approved by council. That's often the last resort if we can't find something a little bit more easy, but I understand what you want, so,
Okay.
yep, we'll take a look at it, make it happen.
So do you need me to make a motion to have you look into?
That'd be great.
I'll move that staff look into zoning of the fire hall and the grader shop in Hazar.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Alice had a question?
Yeah, just one. While we're doing that, Ben, it's just a thought that came in my head. We could be looking at that in more than one area. And we've got 9 fire departments. So maybe to have a look at what is best for all, that could happen in more than one, just one particular.
But I don't know what the other ones are zoned as.
I don't know either. That's why I wanted to look at the zoning on them and see if we can do something better for them all.
Through the chair, I think that's a wise idea, what we can do, because there's not that many through the county. We could look at that and maybe come up with a zoning for just all the different fire hall sites and incorporate grader shops, et cetera, like that, and then build that zoning to incorporate all the needs so in the future then these problems don't occur.
Yeah.
And it's easier for people to, staff, et cetera, to do what they need to do.
Just a note, 3 of those are not in our jurisdiction, by the way.
Yeah.
Strathmore, Standard, and Rockford are within the villages and towns, so they would fall under their jurisdiction. So those 3 we would likely not review at this time.
That's true.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Brenda.
So that being said, we do have a storage yard with Wheatland West. So I'd be curious to know what the zoning is from the town of Strathmore on that, because we do have there is a lot behind Wheatland West within the town. So I'd be curious to know what that is zoned, just a thought, right?
I guess my point is it's not Wheatland County zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep in mind that's been there for a number of years, so it's, could be grandfathered in. I think that's designated as a residential area there. So likely, if and when that fire hall was removed, it would likely turn into houses from what I understand, but I could be wrong on that.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. Update on Carsland Fire Hall. That was Don's question.
So, Mr. Chairman, we're just going through the final steps to go out for requests for quotations on that, and then we'll be bringing that information back to council. Anticipation is it will be in over budget, but we don't know how much. It could be considerably over budget when we anticipated, but that'll come back for you guys' consideration, so.
Okay.
What has created the over budget?
Considerably over budget?
Yeah, what's created that?
What's created that?
Yeah. There must be a reason from
Well-
the first estimation to what.
I think the
over budget-
first estimation we had was about 1.2 million, and it was based on Dallam Fire Hall.
Oh, okay.
And we just saw that, what was it? There was one in 3Ls that just came in at 2.5 million. There's another one out west that came in about 3 million, so we're anticipating it's going to be more than what we thought originally. So,
Okay,
okay. So I'll take the credit for the underestimation of that.
okay.
Oh, don't jump off the cliff yet till we have the actual numbers, so. But the information that Judy and Angie have obtained from our architect is the quotation, or the budget we have is probably not enough to get us through. We have some money in reserve, and we'll make a proposal to council once we get that information, so.
Okay. We'll wait for that to come then. And Bernice asked something about parades. Do you want to talk about that now, or?
She was upset that there was no representation of Wheatland County in the parade, and her wording was quite clear. Where the heck were we? Why weren't we there? And do something next year. I won't say her name, just.
Through the chair, did you ask her when she was counselor if she had any representation there? No, she didn't. I was approached by the same lady.
Okay, all right. She was quite
I know.
nice. I told her, I said, okay, I'll bring her forward and we'll talk about, so we talked.
I told her to talk to her counselor.
Just a comment though, I believe Ben and Glenn and myself and Alice, and we all have local parades that we attend, and we may not come as a whole into this Heritage Days parade, but we have plenty of events that we attend, and I don't know, I guess if she wants to come, she can give us an idea on a float and maybe help us put it together, but.
Through the chair, we went through this about 9 years ago, 10 years ago, and we did develop a bit of a float for the parades, and it was up to the councillor of the area if they wanted it to get it there, but it turned out that it was the staff that ended up doing it, more so. So it was a hardship on the staff, and that they can't say no if you go and ask them to do something, they're kind of committed to doing it. So if you wanted it, it was up to you to do something. And like Glenn does in Rocky Ford, he goes in there and he goes in as a reeve and does I'm always involved in the one in Hazar and doing things like that. So you're right, we have 7 different areas that have those type of things that if we start doing that, how do we make sure that everybody gets represented properly? And I wouldn't put a whole lot on what that lady says either.
I don't think any of those excuses will work, though. She was a little ticked.
Well, and if you remember, Ben, we made it a temporary thing because nobody knew how it was going to turn out. And so unfortunately, like we had a trailer from here and then we had to decorate and undecorate, and that, you're right, fell back on the staff. If we were looking at something for a parade, we need to have a theme, and we need to make it a permanent unit so that you can back in with the truck and hook onto it and take it to every parade in the Wheatland County area. You have to make it easy. It's not going to work if we have to do what we did before. And they were well received everywhere. I mean, we had it in Gleason every year. But you're right, it was, some of it was plastic decorations, and I ended up spending hours trying to staple it together. You got to have something permanent that's going to work. So that could be a discussion, maybe a budget time. We put it on a budget and see if all the councillors are in favor of it, maybe see whether we can go under recreation or something. Economic development? I don't know. But we should look at it in a different light, I think. That's my point.
Okay. Anything else? I'm hearing wait till budget time. Okay. We'll move on to Reeves' report. I don't know if everyone knows here or not, but Wheatland Lodge, Wheatland Law Management Body has, we have a permanent CAO now instead of interim. We've named Vicky our CAO, and I believe last week she hired a resident manager. So I'm very happy and proud that's going very well. And August 3rd, I participated in WebEx. It's like a conference call on a computer. And you know, that beats a teleconference by hands down. I really, if we were to do that here, everyone would have their own computer, listen to it. Oh, it's really good. Anyway, it was put on by CSAL. This person that's looking after that, Suzanne, is on mat leave right now for a year. So they've hired Philip Kelly to look after the CSAL part. And she had a bit of an update there, and they'll be coming out. I believe it is out now on the website. But anyway, they come up with, or I guess it's always been there, the ultimate outcome of this CSAL. It's for vulnerable groups within communities impacted by mining sector to enjoy increased social benefits of sustainable, inclusive economic opportunities. That's their goal. But I participated in that for close to 2 hours, I believe, and talked, and they were thankful for our participation, but there are some municipalities out there that do considerably more than Wheatland County, that's for sure. But anyway, just so you all know, we have a little bit of time. Participating partners is, we're partnered with Antioquia, that's in Colombia, and one of the partners is Continental Gold. And this gold company is a Canadian company, relatively new to the scene down there. They're participating in community development and how to spend their monies that they're going to get. The Columbia FCM CO is a very strong organization. They take ideas and they work with it. They're much the same as the FCM here in Canada. And Peru, they're not so lucky. They have 2 advocacy groups for the municipalities, and they are lacking funding. Probably is their biggest thing, and support from everybody. But it's mostly advocacy work. They're out there trying to gain support. So it is a job that's still ongoing, and I thought I'd just let you know that I participated in. And I know Lisa goes down there. She's highly thought of in the inclusive work for the seniors and the disadvantaged. They always have a nice word to say about her. And really had a great holiday. Didn't do much else. Took a couple phone calls, but that's part of. Is there any questions? I remove my report. All in favor? Carried. Ben, you have a report, or?
Yeah, I do, but I didn't realize I was expecting this on
Okay.
4th or 5th, whenever the council meeting.
Okay.
My report's sitting at home, and
Okay. We'll wait. We'll wait. Division 1 Councillor report.
Okay, thank you. I included the board meeting minutes from Brooks Fire Hall, Thursday, May 4th, 2017, for the Canadian Badlands. That was sent to me to pass through to the council to give them the information of what went on at that meeting. So you all can read it and come up with your own decisions or thoughts on it. The division for the handy bus for 3.4, the handy bus wanted to let the council know how grateful we are for all the service work they do on the buses for the handy bus. It's really made a difference in our cost per unit for operations, because they do such a great job at maintenance and looking forward if something is going to happen or is going in that direction before other damage is done to those parts or to the vehicle. It's in to get fixed. So really is a help with our expenses. Can't say enough about it. The guys in the shop have just treated the handy bus royally, and we want to let everyone here know that that's how we feel from our handy bus organization. I had the opportunity, you gave me permission to go up to Edmonton to take part in that Business Retention and Expansion International, and it was a full day. So much information that it was mind-boggling, basically. But I came away with some really good information on economic development, as well as, you know, when we start talking about building new buildings or new facilities, and that kind of stuff is really good planning. And some of the planning over the last few years is let's tear down the old building and move it out in the country, and we have acres and acres of parking lot. And that's happened all across Canada and the United States. And now they find within 15 years those facilities are closing down. It's a little bit like Northlands up in Edmonton, where it's so far removed from transit. Unless you hire a bus to take you, there's no transit direct to it. And that seems to be some of the issues when they're, yeah, Northland doesn't have a direct line.
Yeah, they do.
Now they do, but they didn't when we were going there. Yeah, they do now. But that was one of the reasons it wasn't as well used. Now they've got direct transit. And just trying to find my notes on the one in Cleveland, Ohio. They did the same thing, and they moved a lot of these baseball diamonds out into the rural, and within 12, 15 years, they're tearing them down. And what they did is they moved them back to right in the middle, sort of like what Edmonton is doing with the new Coliseum.
Rogers Center.
Or Rogers Center. And they're finding, and it's taken a lot of planning. So what they've done is a lot of the businesses down in Main Street, it's empty. They're moved out. You know, Main Street needs revitalized. So that's what they did. And they really spent a lot of time bringing home-based businesses, a single owner, not big box stores. It was all single owner people down in, and they did areas where it was all cafes, areas where it was clothing stores. The big office buildings were renovated and made into high-rise living space. And they've revitalized that whole downtown in Cleveland, Ohio by doing that. A lot of hard work, a lot of time spent with businesses, and it's become very successful. And it's sort of a standard now. They're moving into a lot of the cities in to revitalize their old downtown areas. So it was really interesting. I got a lot out of it and a lot to bring back to economic development to hear some of the do's and the don'ts of when you're dealing with economic development. So thanks for sending me, and hopefully I can put this to good work. And that's my report.
Any questions for Alice? Move your report, Alice. All in favor? Carried. Counselor 2, Division 2.
I just wanted to give a quick update because myself, Darcy Burke, and Baja had went on a tour on Friday of some of the facilities for the water. So the reservoir, cell 1, cell 2 are done. Cell 1 is being filled, or is filled. Cell 2 is filled. And the stilling basin is being filled.
That's filled too. That's the first one.
The first one's the stilling basin,
Yeah,
and then reservoir 1 and
The
2.
big one is left. I don't know.
Okay, the big one's being filled, sorry. Okay, so the pump house and everything is basically done there. They are doing the work at Standard, at the facility at Standard. They have to bring in the Clearwell train. That makes any sense. They seem behind on part of the building construction. The frame is up, but the roof and walls are not up yet. So they're a little behind on that. Two kind of neat things. If you go around the county and all the casings that they have for all the inspection holes, they've all got the Wheatland logo on them, which was kind of cool, the Wheatland Regional Water Corporation. What we did find out is they've got cages around them, right? Protection cages around them. And they've got emergency contact numbers on them, and nobody knows what number that is. So that's got to get changed right away.
And one of them had a Rocky View on it.
Yeah. So segment 1 from Standard School, from Standard to the school, testing is complete August 15th. The second segment, to flush hydrant 2, that testing is supposed to be complete on the 17th, which is that today? Today or tomorrow? No, so that's Wednesday. That'll be Thursday. Segment 3, the flush hydrant 2, Gleason. So from Standard to Gleason to be completed by September 14th. We actually thought we might be a little bit ahead of schedule and have that done by the end of this month, but I think our promise was to have the water pumping and going by September 30th. But we are still on schedule. We were just trying to be ahead of schedule a little bit. And it works some weeks, and the next week it's not working for us. So that was the only other thing on that. We did go down to Gleason and visit the work they're doing on the county building. And Baja is not looking after that work, is my understanding, right? That's county's looking after that through the chair to Allen?
That's being done through MPE, and Baja is the lead on that project, so he
On
would
that
be involved
project?
in it,
Okay,
yes.
because he did, the reason I asked, I didn't want to speak out of turn, because he was mentioning something there that they were supposed to be working there overtime, and we went there on Friday, and it was 5 o'clock, and they were all gone, so, and I think they were behind on whatever they're doing on that portion, so.
That project's being run through the MPE, the same as the other ones.
Okay.
To my understanding, Baja was in charge of all those.
Okay, well, he seemed to know what was going on there, but for some reason I thought something was said that way, so I just
Sorry,
didn't want
I
to
might-
speak out.
I might, yeah.
So, but all in all, things are going well. There's a few things that are behind, but the overall project is, Gleason is supposed to be up and going by September 30th, and that's the plan, and the other stuff will fall into place or will be compensated for it. But I can't express how much work until you actually go and drive it and go see what's being done. It's greatly appreciated. And the work that they did on the reservoir work and stuff, if you actually go out there, it's very well done. Everybody seems happy with what's been done. I don't know, were you able to make the tour? Yeah. So you've seen all that already, so, yeah. So move my report if there's no questions.
Did we not receive an email at the, during the Rocky Ford Rodeo that they had Hook Standard up? They're no longer on temporary water?
Drawn from the new reservoir, yeah.
Yeah.
From the new reservoir, yes. So, yeah, and my understanding, so the water was coming through there, was so good, they hadn't even done, and I don't know what the intervals were that they were doing a back flush. They hadn't even done one yet. And they finally just said, well, let's just do them just to see what's going on, because they haven't really had to add a whole bunch of chemicals or anything. The water coming through is a lot cleaner. They also, you know, that gabion wall that they built, so that's that big rock to keep all the algae out. Well, WID's copying that as well for their own canal to come in. So things are very well. The water quality seems very high there. So.
Alice?
With the new school starting in September and August here, so is the water going to be onto that, or are they going to be hauling water for a month?
They might be hauling water for up to a month.
Yeah, okay.
But
They're happy with that, because they've been doing that last year, right?
Yeah, they were doing that last
Yeah.
year, and that was due to its own complications, I think, at the school. But overall, I think they're fully expect to have to haul water for up to a month, and then they'll be good to go.
Good.
I actually didn't ask the question because I don't know if they can run water to the school without running it to Gleason. So I think they'd probably just run it all at the same time. They wouldn't run just halfway.
Yeah, that's what I would think. Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? Yeah, that new reservoir, you go there, the water's blue and it looks very nice. You go to the reservoir in Standard, it's shallow and has a greenish tinge to it. And yeah, so that one is shut off in Standard, not using that anymore. The idea is that reservoir wasn't deep enough, so that's in another phase. We actually go in and deepen that and do some work on that reservoir too. So we're looking good for reservoirs. Yeah, looks good. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Division 3 is not here, but we have some Agricultural Service Board minutes to adopt, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Ben has moved. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. And a Division 4 report?
Okay, this is in regards to the Cheadle Ball Diamond. It's, they had their official ribbon cutting ceremony the last week in July. I am very, very impressed with this ball diamond. Looks very professional. All the players, when they're finished playing, they sweep everything and rake everything. It's really, really good. And it's called Fairfield in memory of Ray Fair. And they did an uncovering of the board, and Wheatland County's name is on the board for donations. So they were really thrilled with the money they got. Apparently it cost almost $400,000 to build this. So you guys will have to come out and see it. It's really good. And then the following week, they had their first provincial games. There was 8 teams, and they introduced them all. And they all played, and some won, some lost. But they should be proud of the work they did, all those guys. Yeah.
Thanks, Bernice.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Move your report.
I move my report.
Any questions?
What's that? I don't know, this is pretty sharp.
Let me clarify. I'm talking about great big facilities that, like which ball team have we got? Like, in Chicago, they have those are the big professional leagues, right? Stadiums, that's what I'm talking about. I think Bernice is going to be very successful out there because there's a real need. And Hazard does that at Hazard Days. And look at the ball teams you guys get. So that's on a little different league, right? I was just joking. I know, you had to make me, you were testing me, thank you.
All right, any questions? All in favor? Carried. Staff reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report's very brief because I was on holidays until yesterday. So a couple additions, though, I wanted to make mention of. I did email out to council the regulations that were sent out 2 days after I went on holidays in July. Got them all printed out. I haven't had a chance to go through them, but we'll go through them as staff and we'll bring back a report likely in September on that. Probably the second meeting in September, actually. And then we've received legal feedback on the Master Fire Service Agreement, and there's been some substantial comments made by our legal counsel. We did a preliminary review on that yesterday, and given the MGA changes and what we see from our legal counsel, we may not be bringing that back for a month or so until we see how that plays into the MGA changes. There's some changes that may affect that, so likely we'll bring that back in the new year. So.
Okay, good luck.
Okay.
Any questions, Alice?
Could I have a hard copy of that, Alan?
Of the regulations?
Yeah.
Do you want them all or the only ones that pertain?
No, just the ones that.
Pertain to us?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's the Canmore ones and that. I wouldn't print those.
No, just.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have those printed out today, but I can print them out and let you know when they're available.
Okay,
Does
sounds
everybody
good.
want hard copies? Because I can get our hard copies for everybody if you want. Just
Do
Alice?
you want a hard copy of that MGA?
I'm sorry? Okay, yeah, I can do that.
And,
Yeah,
and the other.
that's what I've
question-
done. They're all on my desk, just spread out.
Okay, the other question is, you did an inspection of the Gleason Arena, July 17th, so what did you learn?
We wanted to do an inspection of the Gleason Arena, follow up from some of the comments in the reports that were done by the engineering firms, because I wasn't able to go on the inspection on that particular site on that time. There's a few concerns we had. We met with Ian Bollinger, and we're working on a strategy of how we can get some of the code things corrected in the building, and that'll be coming back to council. It's
Okay.
not doom and gloom. It's just some things that need to be fixed up, and they need assistance. They're volunteer board, and they need assistance. So we're helping them through that. So.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, Ben.
Nothing to do with it. It's not on the report. The Duck Lake Road, when are they moving in there? I thought they were supposed to be near the end of July or middle of July.
They're supposed to be in like last week. I'd have to get an update. I'll get an update and send it out to council and let you know when they're going to start. I thought it was like the 10th of August,
Okay.
but they're not out there yet, obviously.
They weren't Saturday.
Okay, so I'll find out.
Okay.
I don't know.
And the Ag Service Tour, I just wanted to comment on that. Brenda and I went on the whitewater rafting, and that was a fabulous day. And I really enjoyed the Ag Service Tour with the combination of the two counties. I thought that was well done. The two counties, like Red Deer and the old, yeah.
Mountain View.
Mountain View, yeah. And I really enjoyed that. I don't know what the rest of you felt like, but I thought it was quite well done.
I thought the beer was good.
I didn't try that, Ben.
You went on the right tour.
I was not. Oh, by the way, I did try the one. Yeah, I didn't really like it.
40-mile beer.
Yeah, 40-mile beer. I'm not a beer drinker, so.
So the only other thing I wanted to mention is Margaret's made copies of the open farm days, which happen this Saturday and Sunday. So if you get an opportunity to go out to some of the farms in the area, there's a number of them in Wheatland County. Just fairly close, actually. The majority of them are right close to this area. So encourage you to go out and stomp around the farms in the Calgary region.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? A motion for CAO's report. Ben, all in favor? Carried. Okay, we have some correspondence. Drumheller Police Detachment and statistical comparisons.
Also move
Accept as
to
information.
accept as information, yes.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. And in camera for Legal matter, FOIPAC, Section 17. All in favor? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, thanks. That should be the end of the meeting, too.